My husband called my sister fake in front of her boyfriend. It potentially ruined my relationship with her for good. Context. My husband and my sister don't get along all too well. She's 25 and he's 33. She's pro makeup and loves beauty stuff. She changes her looks constantly from hair color to eye color and she looks great all the time. People always compliment her beauty, but he'd always comment on how unnatural her beauty is and says she wears too much makeup and wears clothes that aren't her age, which is none of his business, and I've already told him that. He says it's okay, his comments are harmless and are intended to benefit her, but she rightfully gets offended by his harsh words. He claims to be the brutally honest type, but he comes off as incredibly rude to others, so I think that he's a bit of a jerk and is trying to justify it. My sister invited us to dinner at my parents' house to meet her boyfriend for the first time. My husband looked puzzled when I told him and said, "Oh, she already has a new boyfriend?" She and her ex broke up less than a year ago. Again, I told him it's none of his business and he needed to check himself and be polite. He said he could do that, no problem. We arrived for dinner, met her boyfriend and chatted till dinner was ready. My husband was staying with the dogs the entire time and looked upset. I asked if he was okay and he said that my sister was intentionally trying to compare him to her new boyfriend, since her boyfriend comes from a prosperous family and has a good job, so he felt humiliated, and I told him no, she was just trying to introduce them to each other, but he clearly misunderstood. My husband can be oversensitive often. He comes from a struggling family and he considered them low class. We sat down for dinner and my husband started intentionally pestering my sister by making comments about her appearance. He asked her questions like, "What color contact lens are you wearing tonight?" Then turns to her boyfriend and asks, "You realize this isn't her real eye color, right? And is that the black wig you were wearing weeks ago? I remember it was a different color." Then again, turned to her boyfriend and asked, "You realize that's not her real hair, right?" My sister and my parents were very upset. I told him to stop it, but he acted dumb and said that it's okay, my sister has no problem being fake and just wanted to make sure her new boyfriend knows. My sister excused herself to go to the bathroom while my husband shouted, asking her not to take it personal. He's just being honest. It's the way he is. I covered my mouth in shame and my mom asked me if I wanted a few minutes outside with my husband. I immediately realized this was a sign to tell us to leave. I got myself and I couldn't even get the chance to talk to my sister. My mom pressured me to leave, and I was absolutely raging inside but kept my composure. I finally let it all out in the car and yelled at him for the series of nasty, cruel comments he made on my sister in front of her boyfriend and how embarrassed he made me feel and how hurt he made my sister feel. He argued that she started it when he tried to flex on him with her rich boyfriend. I called him childish. The guy is 23 for God's sake. I told him he just severely damaged my relationship with my sister, and his reply was that if she loves me, she won't punish me for something he said and he takes accountability for. We got home and we still argued. He thinks he was getting back at her for something she started and that he wasn't lying at the end of the day. I had enough of fighting and went to stay with my friend. I've already got scolded by my parents and I feel awful. My husband and I are on very bad terms at the moment, and I haven't spoken to my husband since, but my main concern is my sister. She hasn't been answering any calls from me, and I'm trying to sincerely apologize to her, but I don't know how.
My dad's 28-year-old girlfriend has started momming me. Now, maybe for a helpful reference, I'm 26 years old, so this woman is only 2 years older than me. And when my dad first introduced her to the entire family, he said that she was 34, but I internet sleuthed that because she did not look that old. I was like, I need to know who does your Botox, because if you're really 34, you look great. And yeah, she wasn't 34. Actually, the first time I met this woman, she was only 24 years old and I was 22. Her and my dad dated and then they broke up for 2 years, and I thought that was the end of her. I was never going to see that woman again. Thank goodness. But no, guess who turned up at my Thanksgiving dinner this year? Unannounced, unexpected, my sister. I mean, like stepmom, I don't know. Obviously, it's always been a little bit of a weird dynamic between the two of us because she's practically my age and dating my father, but we've always managed to just get away with some polite small talk. I've never really tried to get to know her much. Can you blame me? And normally she just minds her own business. She just kind of stays near my dad and knows the situation is weird. But that all changed during our family vacation this weekend. My dad, my sister, and I always go to his cabin one weekend out of the year just to hang out, catch up. It's a cute little family tradition. But imagine my surprise when I pulled up and I saw none other than my dad's girlfriend. It grosses me out to even say that, considering the age. There. Like, we didn't get any warning. None. He did not tell us she was coming. And honestly, if he wanted to bring her, fine. That's his choice. He can do whatever he wants. But at least let us know so you don't just blindside us. And let's be honest, I could never imagine this woman spending an entire weekend in the woods. She's basically my dad's sugar baby. He does every single thing for her, pays all of her bills. He buys her everything that she wants. She only wears designer things, drives a really nice car that my dad bought. My dad never bought my sister and I a car nearly that nice. She basically lives this life of luxury on my dad's dime. That girl looked like a baby deer getting out of the car and trying to walk over all of the dirt and the leaves in her Louboutins. Like, girly, I love Louboutins, but there's a time and a place for those, and a cabin in the woods is not that time or that place. And immediately, like right when we get inside the cabin, she starts being really weird and just making it clear that my sister and I are from totally different generations than her. For example, she was explaining to us what Vine was. She was like, ugh, back in my day when we had Vine and not TikTok, it was the best. I wish you had a chance to experience it. I was like, yeah, I mean, I did experience it. I had Vine. We're the same age. Then later, my sister and I were just making fun of each other, as sisters do, poking fun at each other, laughing, having a good time. She comes in from the other room and goes, girls, stop it. In a super, disciplinarian tone. I was like, so, who are you talking to? Which girls are you talking to? Because you cannot possibly be talking to me and my sister. I guess she thought my sister and I were in a fight or something, but we could not even help it. We burst out laughing. It was absolutely ridiculous. She was acting like we were 7-year-olds fighting over a toy or something. Then, when my sister is going to take a shower, she practically body slams her out of the way and is like, wait, before you shower, let me explain to you how the shower works, because it can be really confusing. This is our family cabin that we've lived in for weekends at a time for years since we were little girls, and we know how the shower works. But that's what she would do. She would just talk to us like we were an idiot the entire weekend about actually everything. She made it seem like we were 7 years old and didn't know how anything would work. She also kept referring to my sister and I as the girls. Like, don't the girls just look so cute tonight? Always cute. Never pretty, beautiful, anything. Cute. The girls look cute tonight. Look. The craziest thing that she did, and what got us into a fight, is when my sister and I were watching a movie at about 10:30 p.m. on Saturday night. And she waltzes into the living room and says, okay, girls, it's time for bed. Time for bed? Since when did I have a bedtime? And I am still trying to be nice to the girl, okay, for my dad's sake. So I say, oh, we're just finishing up this movie and then we're going to head to bed. And she said, no, that's not what I said. I said it's time for bed right now. It's time for the adults to be awake right now and have some adult time without the kids around. Adults? The kids? You're 2 years older than me. You were dating my dad when you were younger than me. But I lose it at this point. I look at her and I say, you can play house, you can leech off my dad, but don't come in here and patronize me and my sister. I told her, I do not want to be in a fight with you, and I promise you, that is not a fight that you want to pick or that you would win. She goes right off crying to my dad about how mean I was to her. Like, girl, I have been nice to you for years, even though the situation is weird. So you should be lucky this is the first time I actually went at you. After all the craziness of the cabin weekend, I knew that I needed to talk to my dad about the situation because I could not sit silent on this. And my dad is a very reasonable man, or so I thought he was, and I knew that talking to him would be the best course of action. So I sat down with him and I told him all of my concerns. I told him all of the things that she did over the weekend that just made me feel uncomfortable. Told him, listen, it's your life. I'm not telling you who to date or how to live your life, but you have to understand why this is uncomfortable for me. And my dad, being the logical man he was, said, wow, I'm really sorry, Kels. I didn't know that you felt that way. Let me talk to my girlfriend and, maybe we'll set some boundaries. I thought this was going to be a great solution, but it wasn't, because I got a very angry, aggressive phone call. Now, my dad's girlfriend has never raised her voice at me. She's always been pretty soft-spoken, but on this call, she was going off. She is screaming at me on the phone saying, how dare you meddle in my relationship? I can't believe how immature you are. This is disgusting. You need to get your own life. This has nothing to do with you. Nothing to do with me. I was actually just talking about a situation I was directly involved in and how that situation that I was directly involved in made me uncomfortable. So It actually has to do with me entirely. It's all about how I feel about something that happened to me. But hey, I know when to pick my battles, and this woman was going completely off the wall at me, just screaming at me, calling me names, telling me how terrible of a daughter I was, how terrible of a person I was, and I knew nothing I said was gonna make the situation any better. So literally, the only thing I was saying on this call was, I'm really sorry that my actions and what I said to my dad made you feel that way. That was not my intention. That's it. That's all I said. Did I have a lot of choice words for the girlie that I ended up journaling later? Yeah, I did, but I didn't say those to her. You know why? Because I'm mature. Because I'm 26 years old, and you would think her being 28, so much older and more mature than me, that she could also be polite on the phone with me. But no, she was actually tearing me apart, top to bottom, everything about me. Then she ends the phone call with, and you better watch out, because if there's only room for one of us in your father's life, we all know who he's going to choose. I was like, yeah, me. I'm his daughter. He's going to choose me. And the last thing she says to me on the phone is, you better watch out, because this is not a fight that you're going to be able to win. And then just hangs up. Okay, no goodbye. No, have a nice week. Hope to see you soon. No, that didn't happen. I think after that, it's over. I don't have to deal with her until the next time I see her. But tell me why. Not 10 minutes after I get off the phone with her, I get a call from my dad, who's furious with me. My dad has never yelled at me, and my dad was on the phone screaming. He tells me, why did my girlfriend just call me sobbing, saying that you called her, attacking her, saying these horrible things about her, just yelling at her on the phone for over an hour. What? Tell me, who did that? Because it sounds like she's reversing the roles. I just sat there silently while she tore me apart. And guess what? I wasn't even going to say anything to my dad about it because I didn't want the drama. But she's lying. She's lying. She said that I told her on the phone that I'm going to do everything in my power to break up their relationship and ruin her life. Like, girl, what script are you getting this out of? Also, I do not have enough time to do that. Like, I'm busy. I told my dad, listen, I did not say anything remotely similar to that. Actually, she was screaming at me for almost an hour while I sat silently. So you're getting the wrong story. And my dad says, Kels, why would she lie to me? And without thinking, I just say, I don't know, probably because she's unstable. Then my dad freaks out again. He's like, see, like, you can't talk about her like that, like, blah, 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 blah. I was like, you asked a question. Like, she lied, okay? You heard me just say that. I did say that about her. She does seem very unstable. But I did not yell at the girl on the phone, okay? She's lying about that. Yeah, yes, why? I told you. My dad finished the call by saying that my sister and I and my dad and his little girlfriend all have to do a nice family dinner next week where we have to be on our best behavior and all get along. Okay, I can be on my best behavior, but clearly that woman can't be. Right after my dad hung up, I got a text from his little girlfriend. It was just the angel emoji. That's it. And I knew what it meant. I knew it was passive aggressive. I sat silent too long. It was time I got revenge. For this revenge, I knew I needed an ally, and I love my little sister. She wasn't the ally I needed. And I remember my dad saying that the hardest part about his relationship is that his girlfriend's dad doesn't approve because my dad and her dad are the same age. Her dad is the same age as my dad. She's the same age as me. Seems like the perfect ally. Oh, my dad was thrilled when he heard that I was bringing my new boyfriend to family dinner. He's not going to be so thrilled when he finds out who it is.
I'm willing to bet you all my money that your strict parents were not as strict as mine. Also, hi Mom, I know you're watching this. You were a little insane back then, don't you agree? When I was 12 to about 15, I kept track in my notebook of every single combination of numbers I had tried to break the screen time password that my mom set on my phone. Apple's screen time was my arch nemesis, okay? My phone was somehow connected to my mom's phone. Thank you so much, Apple, thank you. So she set a screen time limit on my phone. Everything was blocked off on my phone. Instagram, social media, YouTube, games. All I could do on my phone was take bad selfies and call an ambulance. If I wanted to use my phone, I had to either know the password or send a request to my mom. And my mom was not about to approve my request for 5 more minutes of Instagram at 11 a.m. on a school day. So I kept track in my notebook of every single combination I had tried every other hour before it banned me from trying again. This sounds like a math word problem, but it was truly my life. But luckily, my mom wasn't very smart, so every password she used was a family member's birthday or some variation. So after 50 million tries, I would eventually get it, start celebrating. She would see that I watched an hour of YouTube and reset the password. And we would just repeat the cycle. Wasn't the cycle low-key fun though, Mom? Like, why was the guessing and the checking and the suspense and the possibility of getting it right the most fun I've ever had? I was not allowed to have a sleepover at anyone's house. It did not matter if this was my bestest, closest childhood friend I've known for 10 years and my mom was college roommates with her mom. I was not sleeping in her bed. It also did not matter if I was at their house at 2 a.m. or 3 a.m. My ass was getting dragged back home where I still had to shower and sleep in my own bed. I'm sure that had real consequences, like never having the experience of braiding each other's hair, making friendship bracelets, sharing your deepest, darkest secrets. I think that's why I'm like this now. I was also not allowed to dye my hair because apparently, according to my mom, the dye would fry my hair, seep into my brain, alter my brain chemistry, literally change the structure of my brain, make me lose brain cells, and I would end up dumb. So I didn't dye my hair, and that all still happened. Mom, I want an apology video with tears right now. I was also not allowed to paint my nails. Because according to my mom, I couldn't paint my nails if I played piano. This was another thing. Every day after school, I had to sprint back home and practice piano for an hour or two. Because apparently they wanted me to be the next female Mozart. But I couldn't paint my nails. One day I got so desperate, I took the Crayola markers that teachers give you at school and just started coloring my nails. But why do I recall I low-key ate? Like, little me could not tell the difference. I thought it looked amazing. But if I'm not dressed up, they might as well be looking at us. And if they call me a slut. Another thing with the piano, I got so good at dissociating from my playing that for a while I took my iPad and put it on a stand and started binging Netflix shows while playing. Yes, I sounded like Mozart if he dyed his hair and lost all his brain cells, but no one noticed.
Am I the astronaut for leaving my husband and stepdaughter stranded on Christmas when I found out he gave her my big Christmas gift? My husband, male 41, is the worst at gift giving. We have been together for over 3 years, and after the first year of not receiving anything for my birthday, anniversary, Christmas, Valentine's, Mother's Day was the last straw after being told I wasn't his mother. I decided to start matching energy. Father's Day came and I was gone all day when normally I would have put together a big lunch or dinner and drive 30 to 45 minutes to go get his daughter, now 16, so they could spend the day together. He called me in the afternoon and I was polite but not initiating conversation. He asked me when I was picking up his daughter and I replied that I had plans and wasn't aware that I was supposed to pick her up since nothing was communicated to me. When he responded, "It's Father's Day," I used his response back, "You are not my father." I had anticipated him getting upset and knew a constructive conversation would not be had, so when he started to raise his voice, I told him to check the table and hung up. I had left a letter to him communicating how much I was hurt about going out of my way for him and to not have any sort of reciprocation. He called me later and said that he would try to do better and work on it. I ended up going to get his daughter during the week so they could enjoy a dinner together. Background info. He drives big rig trucks, so the vehicle we use for everyday travel is mine. He's been better about the gifts. It's more of go pick something out and I will pay for it, which I really don't mind. He does the same thing with his daughter. I do all the shopping for his family gifts when it comes to birthdays and holidays. Cut to a week before Christmas and I wake up to my favorite coffee drink and my husband taking me out to breakfast, followed by a trip to the mall to pick out my Christmas gift. I rarely splurge on myself when it comes to purses and clothes. I have a preteen son from my first marriage, so I tend to be more practical on myself and spend on him for his birthday and Christmas. My stepdaughter, however, is very materialistic and is always asking for money or something expensive, and between her father and his family and her mother and her family and her stepfather, she always gets it. I had been repeatedly saying out loud that I needed a new purse since mine was hanging on by a thread and had decided to invest in a good designer handbag. I started saving money and looking online for my new dream purse. So imagine my surprise and excitement when we get to the department store and I see they have my dream purse in stock. My husband sort of gave a look when he saw the price, and I told him I could contribute and explained how I had been saving so I could save enough to get this purse that I had been dreaming about for months. He shook his head and said I deserved it and he would get it for me, but also gave me the expectation that since he was getting me this, he really couldn't afford to get me anything else. I screamed with delight and told him that was okay, I didn't need anything else. With that taken care of, my husband asked me if it was okay to go get his daughter and take her Christmas shopping. I had tons to do at home in preparation for the holiday, so this worked out so I could have the house empty to get what I needed done. I was reaching to get my new purse when we arrived home, and he said for me to leave it because he had another gift he previously purchased for me that he was going to put inside the purse for me to open on Christmas. I was on cloud nine, so I kissed him and left my bag and went inside. I was still busy cleaning and decorating when he got home later that night, and the rest of the days before Christmas were all a blur with me trying to get my house ready for the holiday. I hosted Christmas Eve at my house with my family, and Christmas Day I slept in, tired from the night before, and woke up with enough time to brush my teeth before we headed out to get his daughter, and then drive to spend the day at his mother's house. I fell asleep on the drive and woke up after his daughter was picked up, and we were already en route to his mom's. I turned around to greet his daughter, and that's when I saw her rummaging and holding my new purse. "Where did you get that purse?" I asked her, and the car fell completely silent. I looked at my husband, and he stayed silent with both hands on the wheel looking straight ahead. I asked her again, this time in a louder, more stern tone. She looked down and quietly mumbled. I screamed. "How would you think it was okay to give her my new purse?" He told me to calm down, and I cut him off and screamed no, and then turned back to his daughter and told her that her father had no right to give her my purse and that she needed to give it back, to which she refused. I could feel my anger raging, then subsiding to a feeling of sadness and complete defeat. I put my coat over my head and leaned against the window, trying to cover my face and mouth as tears started running down my cheeks. My husband pulled over at the next gas station, and his daughter bolted out, taking her purse with her. He tried to comfort me, to which I slapped his hand away and told him not to touch me and gave him a look of disgust. He informed me that after he dropped me off that day, he picked up his daughter, took her shopping, and on the way, taking her home, she noticed the bag and saw the purse. She begged and pleaded with him to please let her have it. She reminded him about all the times he never got her a gift and how giving her this purse would make up for all of it, and that played on his heart, and he finally caved and gave her my purse. He tried to say he was going to make it up to me, and I asked him how, knowing it was impossible. He already spent his money and made it clear that he wasn't going to have the money to buy me anything else. I couldn't help but get upset as I tried to get him to understand how hurt I felt and how it's not like she was suffering with her getting to open presents from her mother and stepfather, plus gifts from their family, along with the gifts that she was going to get from his family, and that he had already spent money on her for Christmas presents, and that was my one gift. I know Christmas is not about getting presents, but I was extremely upset that my husband could be so thoughtless and not consider the amount of pain that was going to cause me. His phone rang, and it was his daughter calling from inside, asking him to come inside because she needed money to buy something. As he was walking into the store, I looked back and tears began to fill my eyes, and I saw all the gifts I picked out for his family with care. Something came over me, and I stopped crying and got out and got in the driver's seat and wiped my face and peeled out of the gas station parking lot, leaving my husband and stepdaughter behind. I turned my phone off and drove back to town and spent the day with my family at my cousin's house and stayed with them, not returning any of my husband's phone calls and not returning home until late the following day. The only phone call I did return was the one from my stepdaughter's mother to set her straight, after she left me a hateful message about leaving her daughter stranded because I was jealous her father bought her a new purse. I told her she had been told a lie and informed her of the truth. That in fact her father did not buy her a new purse, he bought me a new purse, and she played on her father's emotion after he had already bought her expensive items for her from her Christmas list to guilt him into giving her my purse. She apologized and tried to come up with a solution, to which I replied for her to not bother. The damage was done. I found out through my sister-in-law that my husband's brother went to go get them, and the story came out later that evening. His mother is on his side, while his brother and sister-in-law and other aunts and uncles sided with me and got on to his daughter. I have not spoken to his daughter since Christmas, and things are unsettling at home. I have become more distant from my husband, and when I make dinner, I don't serve him a plate. I serve only my son and myself, and I only engage in conversation with my son. He's tried to reach for me at night when we're in bed, and I always end up crying. I'm not angry or mad, I just feel nothingness. Oof. He's back on the road, and I do miss him, but I can't shake the feeling of how he let me down, and I cannot hide my looks of disappointment, looking to see what others have to say about the situation.
My husband's pregnant mistress begged me to leave him. I refused, but I have no idea where to go from here. I don't even know if mistress is the right word to use here. It was a one-time mistake with a woman that my husband runs in the same work circles with. A few months ago, my husband was dropped off after a work party, and he was completely incoherent. The man was just on the ground, sobbing, not making any sense, and I very rarely see my husband cry, so I was concerned. I ended up just putting him to bed on the couch, was checking on him throughout the night, and was just hoping he was okay. My husband and I have been together since high school. We have 2 kids together. He is my entire life, and I have never seen him like this. In the morning when he woke up, he was still unconsolable. He was making more sense now, but he was just sobbing. He calms down a little bit and tells me that he has never in his life had so much memory loss after a night out, that everything from that night was extremely blurry, but he did know that he cheated on me. Again, my husband and I have been together for a very long time, and the man has not even looked at another woman. So this was shocking. I never in a million years thought I would be cheated on by this man. I trusted this man with every ounce of my being. We actually ended up testing him that day because everything was so foggy to see if anything was maybe slipped in his drink. But no, there was nothing. He just drank way too much. People may disagree with this decision, but I did decide to stay with him. I know some people would be like, leave, but we have kids, okay? Like, this isn't just something that's gonna impact me and my husband. We have a whole family. He'd never cheated on me before. We started couples counseling and started to work through this issue. And I was getting back on track to start to trust him again after this horrible incident. And yes, it was horrible. My husband had not had contact with this woman since the night of the affair. But last week, he gets a text from her with a blood test result showing that she was pregnant. Yeah, pregnant with my husband's child. Obviously, this sent me completely spiraling, but we decided to both meet up with this woman for coffee because there is a baby on the way, okay? This is gonna impact that baby. We need to have a conversation. We weren't just gonna ghost this woman. If this is my husband's baby and she wants to have this baby, we're gonna do what we need to do to support it. When I met the woman, I wish I could tell you that I hated her, that I thought she was terrible, but in another world, we probably would have been friends. She was a really sweet girl. She seemed completely terrified about the situation. She was a few years younger than my husband and I. She just seemed completely taken aback by the whole situation and just so upset and confused. So finally, I asked her, what do you want to do? What do you want to do with this baby? And that's when she broke down into tears and she said, when my boyfriend, yes, her boyfriend, that she has a boyfriend who doesn't know yet. When my boyfriend finds out about this baby, he's gonna break up with me, and I don't want to be a single mother. I'm asking you, woman to woman, will you please leave your husband so that we can raise the baby together? Leave my husband. Leave my husband. Leave my husband. I'd been pretty cool, calm, and collected at this point in this meeting, considering the circumstances, but after this, I lose it. I was like, you know what? I know that the person who owed me loyalty was my husband. And trust me, I'm not happy with him. But you knew my husband was a married man and you had an affair with him. And then you have the nerve to sit in front of me and ask me to leave the father of my children. You don't want to be a single mom, but you want me to be a single mom. You want me to raise my 2 kids without my husband so that you don't have to do it. That's absolutely absurd. You need to check yourself. I said, essentially what you're asking is for my husband to abandon his family and the 2 children he already has. That's what you want? And she just looked at me like, she clearly hadn't thought it all through. I told this girl whether or not I leave my husband is my decision. I knew what happened. I decided to work through this with him for our family, for our children. You cannot come in here and try to break up our family. Absolutely not gonna happen. Now, if my husband is the father of this child, and if you wanna have this child, we will support the child. He will be an active father in this child's life. But that does not mean he's just gonna abandon the children he already has. After I was done with my rant, my husband looked at me and said, you know what? I think it's time we go. And I was like, you know what? You are right. It's time we go. At this point, the girl is sobbing. And normally I would feel really bad. But not only did she home wreck my relationship, she's now asking me to leave my husband. Like, the actual audacity of that is wild. My husband is going to be getting a paternity test to see if he's actually the father of that baby because she fully has a boyfriend. So why does she think it was my husband? I don't know. My husband, on his own, I didn't even ask him to do this. He sent her my contact information and said, I think that at this point, all communication should go through my wife, because based on what you said at lunch and what you want and the way you want this to go, I don't think it's a good idea for the two of us to be communicating until we 100% know that I am the father of this baby. I think that you should just communicate all these things through my wife, which is probably for the best. If this baby does turn out to be his, I have no idea what we're gonna do. Obviously, we're gonna figure out custody. We're gonna figure out how he can be a supportive father, but I don't know how this is gonna play out when she fully wants to be with my husband now.